One of the things that makes Whiskey Creek special is the people. It's all about the people. It's about the relationships. Just it's an amazing
100%.
community, and you've got so many diverse ideologies and cultural representations and different parts of the country that we've come from, and we've got this whole new movement of younger people coming in. There's been dramatic improvements in the clubs in so many ways, and I've been a member since, I hate to even say this, but like since 2005.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I've been coming to this club for a long, long time, over 20 years, and watching the club evolve and make progress. So we talked about doing the dinners. Well, they used to have Friday night dinner, and when you came to an event, everyone was in a tie, and I remember coming and didn't have a jacket. And they're like, we have to have a jacket. So they made me take on this jacket, which just reeked of BO. Came out of the back room.
Yeah.
They put it on.
I've been in restaurants like that.
They put it on and they say all you have to do is walk it in. It's like wearing a mask. We just need you to wear the mask when you walk through the room, just so that we can convince everybody that we're somehow safe. But and then as soon as you get off, you take it off and you rest it behind the chair. But finally, you start to say, is that something that we really need to do? Because most people are not doing it. And then people wearing jeans, right? That's still, I still think they're allowed on the golf course. Well, I don't know what our exact rules are,
last night.
But I had my shorts on last night because I came from work, and I don't have any real long pants.
I didn't either until I ran for office.
Well, there you go. So, but anyway, the event, Mark's event was outstanding. But nonetheless, those types of things used to take place all the time. There is a dramatic improvement in the club in so many different ways, and I feel as if, as a club, and particularly on the board, and I'm not on the board, and I hope you can get on the board, and I did run a couple of times, but I'm way too chaotic and never won any vote. We didn't win enough votes to get on.
I don't even know how you get on the board.
You got to run, and then they got to vote you in. Or you can be an interim
appointed by the governor.
Right. Well, by the board can appoint somebody. Anyway, the bottom line is I run a full-time business.
Sure.
I work 60 hours a week already. I want to do podcasts. I've got so many other things that matter in my life. First of all, the aging population happens all the time, pretty common, and they'll announce. And now I'm at the point they used to send me the announcements, but I didn't know anybody. Now that we just lost somebody here recently, Schaefer. And Art Schaefer, and these are guys that I know and I played golf with. So now it's like, that's kind of where, and I used to be the young kid. Well, now I'm one of the middle of the road guys. So,
no, you're not the
but one of the things about the club is there is a culture that is Whiskey Creek. There is a community that is Whiskey Creek. The very thing that makes people want to come back to the club. Yeah, the golf is nice and the course is nice, but it's the people. It's really the people that make the club work. And as a result, if you completely change the entire dynamics and we go out and we invest in millions of dollars to upgrade the course and to redo the greens and to do all this other stuff, first of all, that's not going to happen.
It's not feasible.
And not because we wouldn't want that to happen, unless somebody came in with private money and wanted to buy it, in which case I'm sure the members would potentially sell out. The thing that makes Whiskey Creek, and I would say this is a selling point, we do not assess the members, but we own the club.
Yeah,
so we're equity owners, but you can't come out and assess the members. That's a great thing as a certificate holder, right? And we kind of control the course, and we're debt free. And obviously, as we need to do things, we have to take them on as projects, and we have to figure out how we're going to get funding. And in the event that we need to make money, and in the event if we were going to say we needed to invest money or somehow do an assessment, the membership would have to vote for that. Boards can propose, for instance, if we're going to do spending and we have to get a loan. We lost our barn, the cart barn, a number of years ago, and of course it got struck by lightning, and it was an old building, so it burnt to the ground. And then of course we had the insurance was to replace it. Well, they don't tell you that the replacement was the value of what was there. We're going to pay to replace what was there, right? Well, code. This was an old building, and so now there's new codes on the electrical wires and all this stuff, and so obviously it was a lot more money. So when that comes up, we have to go out and we have to potentially get a loan or do something, and in which case the board will make all those decisions, set it all up, and then they have a vote for it. Usually when a vote like that comes, we've already discussed it. We already know it's going to be a vote, and kind of everybody is on board with this. And then you know,
So
you go
all
through the
equity
mechanics
members
of
get
it.
the vote.
All equity members get to contribute to that, yes, on that type of a decision. But for the most part, the board can make decisions based on its budget. So if the board passes a budget, they can do whatever they want, and there's, you know, there's wiggle room in there based on the amounts of revenues that are being produced. And the course has been fantastic. And I remember when Gary Green, you know, joined the club, and him and Brian, and they were like the newer members, and they were a couple of years older than me, you know, and you know, Gary was burning in his belly to make changes, and he wanted to be a member. And I said, well, good for you. And I said, the way you make change is you come in with that enthusiasm.
Yeah.
You come in and you grab the bull by the horn, and you know, I forget at the time he was we had this old manager, John, and you know, John was a brilliant manager. He did really good work, right? But on the same token, he was managing everything, right? Which was a great manager, because the manager takes care of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the members were afraid that, oh my God, because he manages everything, we can't lose him, you know. And I just remember, you know, whatever it was, there was a little bit of a conflict between him and John. And I just said, Gary, I said, you're a member. You know what I mean? He works for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he works for the club. So in essence, he
Right.
works for us. You know that. So the reality is, if you get on the board and you make decisions as a board, that's what carries the club.
Right.
And anyway, he did a great job, and Brian got in, and Skip got on the board, and you know, there's just been massive improvements in so many ways. And then we had that young kid, Derek, got in there, and Derek, real nice guy, a real great golfer too, you know. And boy, did he kind of get really hit upside the head with problems that had been developing for decades. You know,
Yeah.
you'd get a problem with drainage, and we used to have problems with drainage all the time. And, you know, they'd go in and they'd say, well, you know, to fix this thing, it's going to cost you $35,000. Or I can roto-rooter it again, and it'll last
Right.
for $3,000, and it'll last you another year. And so we did the roto-rooter fix.
Yeah.
And then poor Derek gets stuck in there, and, you know, the Board of Health or whatever else comes in, and we just start saying, this is no longer manageable. We have to take it apart. But we've gone and we fixed all that. We fixed our roof. We remodeled the bathroom. I mean, there's just been so much progress at the club, and it's outstanding. And the fact that this new move that was done, and that we have these guys who are volunteering, and I think Gary, Marcia, they're a great couple. They're just dynamic. They've got fantastic personalities. They're friendly, loving, kind, as is the case for most people at the club. And obviously, sometimes there's passion on from different points of view, but it doesn't make one wrong and the other right. It just makes, you know, hey, we passionately speak our tone, and it's kind of like in American politics. Passionately do your arguments, passionately make your argument, and then whoever wins, we get behind whoever wins, because they're our president. You know, at least that's the old culture, you know what I mean? And I think we're going to get back to that, because I would say for the last, you know, 2 decades, it's really, really been politically toxic in America. Yeah. But I feel as if we're all tired of that. And I think it's also true even in our own lives. It's just like people are so afraid of politics that they can't talk about any issue, because every issue was assigned a blue flag or a red flag. You know what I mean? So if the issue came up, you know, if you're on the blue team, everything that goes down the pike, you're on the blue team. Or you're on the red team, everything that goes down the pike, you're on the red team. And I would say, if you asked somebody what was going on, we had that problem in our Okeechobee, the water, you know, leakage coming out, and there's problems. So there's a major problem there. And as a state, we know this. What's your position on it? Well, I don't have a position, right? And obviously I realize, you know, water comes through, it builds up, they have to do some drainage, you have to let those things out. But I'll tell you what, most people, if you said, what's your position on that? They would go to their red website, or they'd go to their blue website, and they would say, that's my position, because that's my team.
Yeah.
And I feel as if those types of solutions, and that's like, I was talking last podcast about the building, you know, on one floor we've got abortion, and the next floor you got, you know, whatever, and all these different political elements. Well, what's been happening over the last 2 decades was every single floor was given a flag, and if you had the blue flag, you had to go on every floor and argue the blue team, and you had to be on the blue team. And every red flag, you had to do the same thing. And most of us did not even want to be carrying a red flag or a blue flag, but God forbid you didn't, because if you didn't carry your flag, you know, you were almost worse off trying to be neutral. That's my thing. I always want to kind of be in the middle. I don't really want to be fighting for one cause. I want to create camaraderie. I want to create solutions. I feel as if the word greed makes it negative. So I think people come in because they want to have power. They want to have money and they want to have power because and they don't view it as being greedy. They view it as showing up to the game. You know, I came to play in my world, and I came to be a leader of my world, you know, and look at the judge, you know, and Meg Stein. I mean, she has served all the way up to the top of the food chain, you know what I mean? And she has made massive progress within the system, right? And so the system itself is always labeled from both sides, you know what I mean? But in essence, America is amazing. America is such a great country. It's such an amazing, amazing, amazing place. And, you know, you talk about the electoral college and how that whole thing works, you know, and everyone's like, well, you need to go to a popular vote. Well, no, you don't, because we're 50 states. Each state has to have a vote, you know what I mean? And each state has to have, I don't want to say equality, but, you know, percentage-wise has to have equal contributions to where the country goes. And clearly you look at the red on the map, and it seemed as if Trump won everything. I mean, even in the cities when he lost to the blue, he was still up 6 and 8 points over where he was prior to. And now with this landslide victory. And I feel as if America's going to come back. And can we come back to a country where we say, you know, let's be pro-life. Let's work as a country to be able to support one another and to be able to make America amazing and to support life in all areas, including, you know, taking care of ill people or dealing with the issues of death and how we want to deal with some of those things. And I know in Canada, you know, they have this, what is it, assisted suicide. I don't know, that is also not a good word, but, you know, that basically they allow people to come to end of life and they can choose to go out and you put your parents to sleep just like you put down your dog. And they say, oh, it's a wonderful thing and we have an experience. And it's, well, okay, to me that's a little dystopian, but that's only me. But the idea is, as Americans, we're starting to come together again and recognize that having a culture of life, I think, is going to be healthy. And I also think the 5D, part of that culture is choice, being pro-choice, that the woman should have the right to do what she wants to do with her body, but we as a society should do everything we can to save that life and to support that life and to support the family and to support the families that are giving birth and to make sure that you know, when you get so many people coming over the border and these poor guys, and I just think back of where I was as a kid, you know, and I grew up as a janitor. That's what I was, you know. And I had 2 kids and life was hard. You know, life was hard. It wasn't easy. You know what I mean? And it took a long time to build up your efforts and to apply yourself in order to get ahead. And now you see some of these families. I don't know how they pay their bills. I don't know how they even survive. Yeah. With so many different things. I didn't have to have a cell phone. I didn't have to have internet. Like all of these expenses that they're encumbered with now, because now a necessity is a cell phone. I mean, without a cell phone, it's almost like you're held behind. I'm an old man, and the one thing I have not gotten addicted to is the tool. Yeah. And I am purposefully, I don't know messages on my phone, don't call my cell phone because I don't answer it. When I carry it with me, I do, but the people who I give my cell phone number to, I want them to call me. Yeah. You know what I mean? But when I had a cleaning business, and just to let you know, going back, so I was a janitor in high school, and when I come out of high school, I went to work, and this was 1980. Ronald Reagan had just become president, kind of like we're in right now. All of a sudden, there was this buzz in the country, and everyone was so excited, and Reagan wins. Well, there's all this money because Reagan was all about this Star Wars thing. Well, where I was in the 128 belt of Boston was where all the high-tech stuff was. And I had a cleaning business. So I went out and I did good work. I showed up on time, and you know, I was industrious. I wasn't overly sophisticated, but I could do a good job. And I built a cleaning business out of that. That was an opportunity that was given to me, and obviously because of the timing that I landed in, I was able to build some success. And that's an opportunity for every American these days. And you don't necessarily have to have an entrepreneurial spirit as much as you have to have the drive and the opportunities. And hopefully there will be more opportunities. Even as AI starts to come out, we're going to start doing new things that we don't even know what it's going to be. So we didn't even have, you think back of where we were. YouTube is an entire infrastructure. It's like it's almost like a country. Yeah. Facebook is a country. Twitter is like a country, and I feel as if we're going to start to build more and more. What's going on right now with Bitcoin? I don't know if you got any money in that Bitcoin stuff, but oh my God, it's just absolutely insane. But like all of this stuff is coming, and we don't even know what's there. Like we don't even know what can come because that next, when we open the doors to that, we stopped all of our fighting, and all of a sudden, boom, we're going to go into this new thing. We're all going to come out of the fighting, and we're going to try to figure things out, and we're going to start utilizing our technologies to try to support one another. And I feel as if we can redefine success. Redefine success. So instead of success being you've got to be money, you have to have massive money, you have to have a nice car, you have to have a nice home, and those are the things that create the validity of your life. Mm-hmm. And by the way, this is already happening. Next generation, they're like, why am I going to work 45, 60 hours a week so I have no time with my family, right? So that I can come home and I can do this and I can buy that, so I can pay for a TV, I can pay for a vacation. I'm going to repurpose my entire life, and I'm going to make my success based on how much time I spend with my family, how much time I actually have with my kids, how much I can help my kids to grow and learn, how many relationships can I establish to help me support my livelihood. So all of a sudden, we're building these little communities, and we're sharing workloads, and we're sharing money, and I can imagine that we would get possibly to the point where you could start creating online communities that will subscribe to an ideological ideal, right? And this is happening a lot in the spiritual communities, and they're like, we're a 5D spiritual community. And if you're at 5D and you want to be part of this community and you're there, we support one another. We buy each other's services. We buy and spend each other's services. We meet collectively. We influence one another. And that can be not only something that we're doing in our community, but that's something that we can actually start doing online. And we can
Does it cost money to be part of that community? You have to, like an entry fee or a buy-in fee or a membership fee, or because it sounds like, I think there's is it called BIN or BNA or
BNI?
That has that same concept, but they physically meet.
So,
and you have to be only one per profession or
Business
occupation.
Networking International. It's been around for a long
It
time.
has.
It's a great way to do.
In fact, they do it at
local
Whiskey Creek.
Yeah, it's a great way to do local network, and I think that that's a critical element. But I do feel as if I feel as if that's the new economy. When you think about how much money goes to Google, Facebook, on their advertising platforms, how much money goes to Amazon, because Amazon has literally stolen the entire market because they offer free shipping now, and the rest of us can't afford to do that. So all of this money goes to these massive conglomerates, and then you say, how much money do we spend on politics? How much money goes into the PACs? Kamala Harris raised $1 billion, and she's still in debt coming out the other side. Think about all that money that we have, and would it be possible that we could repurpose that? Like somehow we could say, how can we redefine our system? And I believe that AI is going to allow us to do that. We talked about that voting thing. If you just go up and when you vote, I think it's in Iraq, they dump your thumb in, and so you can't.
It's
well,
like
we should go in and you put your thumbprint down, and if you put your thumbprint down and you vote, period, you cannot vote more than once. And I think if you had every single person in America to actually do that and have a legitimate vote, knowing the issues, I think it would be much more legitimized, and I feel as if that happens, we can watch it on closed circuit TV. We watch our people come in, they click the vote, and then pop, it shows up on a screen and went here.
There's probably a subset of Americans that don't want their thumbprint on record with the government.
This is true, right? But on the same token, if
or they already are on record.
So the thing is, and this is where you start saying, are we going to live in fear,
Right.
or are we going to live in trust?
That's true.
And I'm a spiritual guy. I say trust. Why wouldn't we?
What
live
have we
in
been
trust?
living on in the up to now, or what are we living in currently? Fear or trust?
I would say that, well, our society is trust. I mean, our society is trust. That's what it's basically built on. As much as it's attacked, we're going to go back to truth. Truth always wins out. And I feel as if people who are honest, people who are kind, those are the things that we really want to exist in. And I feel as if every culture and every community and every nation and every group, they get together because they have common interest, and that's their feminine energies of love and connection, and everything is kind of that way, and that has always ruled the day up until the last 20 years, when all of a sudden the world has all of a sudden been all brought together through this internet connection. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden we're bumping into one another, and we're being exposed to cultural things and to weird, bizarre habits and of other cultures and different things that people do, the way their costumes work, the way they clothe, the way they worship, their ceremonial practices, and we're all afraid of something new, right? But I feel as if we're all starting to realize that everyone is worthy of being heard. Like every single person who has a fear, whatever their fear is, if you actually hear them out, and they explain to you why that they're afraid of that, and rather than telling them, oh, no, you're wrong with that. No, you say, well, please tell me your story. What is it about Trump, that you feel is a threat to democracy? Like really, what do you mean? Oh my God, you see that stuff, and they'll start spewing the nonsense that's been spewed at us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's really not legitimate concerns about what Trump is likely to do. They're just narratives that spew out, that carry all kinds of energies. We all get caught up in it, and everyone's caught up in this energy, everyone's caught up in that energy, and we're all kind of going like this. But we're done. I feel as if that's over with now, and we're all of a sudden just going to start to say, okay, we don't have to hate each other, we don't have to be at war, and we don't have to be terrified of Donald Trump. I don't think, and any more than I have to be terrified of Joe Biden. But I do feel as if we need to be terrified of unhealthy thought processes, like a culture where we make death okay.
Right.
Where we make okay. We're gonna vaccinate every child born. Like we're gonna inject something to be a health element to a brand new child. I mean, to me, that stuff is just scary. That stuff happens automatically. And I'm hoping that this guy, Robert F. Kennedy or whatever, can at least expose some of those thought concepts, and we can have real dialogue, and to say, where do we want to go, and how do we want this to ultimately come out. We don't just want to fight it. We just don't want to argue about it. We want to actually look at the evidence and say, what's here, what's appropriate, how could we manage this, and what would be the best way to manage it. And I imagine that if we do that with the higher intention of actually trying to solve problems and not being in a battle to say my red team or my blue team has to win, I feel as if that's where we're going. And from that, I think we're going to be back into the trust. And I think trust is an important element. And I think that's where you're in truth. Love and trust and kindness, and respect and honesty and all the things, and respect for life, being pro-life. Like all of those, and you can call them spiritual traditions, you can call them religious indoctrinations, right? Those were the very things that made life worth living, and sadly, a lot of kids these days are not even exposed to those types of things anymore. Instead, they're just exposed 24/7 to pornography online, or arguments online, or hate speech online, or labeling everything online. And that's coming apart now. I just feel as if that cannot sustain itself long term. And I feel as if next generation is going to come around, and there was a massive push in support of Trump amongst the new kids on the block. What are they, Gen Zs? Mm-hmm. And Bobby, boy, you're so popular. And he says to him, don't get too popular. Mm-hmm. Right? and I do feel as if by the way, this Unity Coalition thing, they did a big thing in Washington, and I voyeured in and watched it, and it wasn't a lot. There may have been maybe 5,000 people there, and they kind of went around the audience, and then lots of like Trump supporters there, and then you start to hear USA, and then whoosh, everyone would say no, let's not do that. Let's not be MAGA. Let's be above MAGA. Let's be at this new Unity Coalition kind of stuff. And I do feel as if that's going to be, and that's more libertarian. That's more of the libertarian bent. And I feel as if the new Libertarian Party is going to be the new left. And the thing is, that's what Trump is. Trump's really, MAGA is more libertarian. MAGA is more, I mean, he's a Democrat for all intents and purposes. I mean, he clearly is not a conservative by any means. The religious community adopted him, but I feel as if that's going to be the new party, and I think that progressive Democrats are gone.
Wow.
And I don't know how they'll necessarily organize and align themselves, but that's my take on it. 5D perspective on this stuff, right? I can just see it all playing out. So where is it going to go? I can see it going in multiple different directions, depending on where the influence comes, where the money goes, depending on the effectiveness that they have as they start to maneuver in these different directions. A lot of the ideas that they're presenting, I am not a war guy. I'm a love, peace, happiness guy. So, to me, we should not be funding, and this is pro-life. Why would we be funding the death of
humans?
Like literally millions and millions of and if you think about what's taking place in Ukraine and Russia, what is that the last bastion of? White civilization. White men killing white men, being paid for by whom? being paid for by the globalists who are trying to come in, and they're trying to make us all DEI compliant, So you can see how those types of things kind of create concerns amongst people. And that's why when you look at, mention the the polling, clearly the polling is a joke.
Yeah.
And the true pollsters are on the campaign, and they're the ones that knew that she was in trouble. And that's why at the end they kept saying, well, and they slowly moved it back so they don't look like a bunch of idiots. But the reality is they're way off. And that's always been the case. And even Trump, both times prior to, he wasn't going to win until he won, right?
Right.
So, but I feel as if that Unity Coalition is, they don't want to be at war. Like they're like, why would we be at war? We need to create peace. Let's create a different relationship with China. Let's create a different relationship with Russia. Let's create a different world where we're cooperating, where we're neighbors. You know what I mean? And while we respect one another's sovereignty, and we support one another where we can, and war should absolutely be at the very, very last end of anything that would happen.
Absolutely.
Right? But instead, war seems to be the way we need to go. We need to build our military. We need to build up our military. To defend from whom? To defend from the other side, which has to build up their military.
It's been like that for thousands of years.
Right, and think about the amounts of money that gets put in that direction. And what if we said, and this is what, like I liked about Reagan back in the day, he said, let's build Star Wars. And by the way, we're going to build all this technician and we're going to share it with the world.
Mm-hmm. You
know what I mean? So if we share that with the rest of the world, why wouldn't they be for it? Why wouldn't you be supportive of creating a defensive shield, which, by the way, we utilize in Israel. That was kind of that whole Patriot defense system, and obviously it's proved effective. We don't have it in our own country, but we're not really a threat for those things per se. But I do feel as if this new Libertarian Party, they want to have peace. They want to stop all the wars. And I think Trump wants to talk about, creating more of a unified playing field, which, by the way, his tariffs do. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people are definitely not in sync with his tariff ideas. And I'm not necessarily a big tariff guy. I believe in free trade as well. But, defining that, I feel as if Trump is doing most of his bloviating is around threatening. You know what I mean? And setting a bar as opposed to being particularly that hawkish. I don't know. California to me is gone.
Yeah.
Like California is gone. It was interesting. Every single state that had no voter ID, Kamala Harris won.
Yeah.
Every
Really?
state that has voter ID, she lost. So, my goodness, I don't want to be critical, but I think she's incompetent. I just don't think she's capable. I mean, and I wanted to believe in her, and it's a lot of my liberal friends, and it was like, what do you think of that? And when they took Biden out, and then they just put her in, that really upset me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because Biden kept saying, I'm running.
I know.
I'm running. And then, they took that away. To me, that's concerning. And I don't think she's competent or capable at all. And I think she should just take her money and, enjoy life.
You get...
And it's a shame. And she should have never been in that position. She really should not be in that position. Here we are insulting her or using all of these adjectives to describe her, but it's because she was put in that position, which was way over her head, and the voters knew it. That's why she never ever won an election when she ran for president. And obviously she won an election, and I don't think California has legitimate, honest elections. I think the party wins. The party will decide who wins. And I noticed that in a lot of the elections, and again, just sharing what I've read, but then in a lot of these other states, even though Trump won in landslides, like the numbers did not come out in the same landslide towards the Republican senators. And all of a sudden there was lots of votes that appear, and where are those votes coming from? And why in the world, like in Arizona and in these states, does it take 5, 7, 10 days to count votes?
Yeah.
To me, that's it's just so fraught for fraud and corruption.
So I'll probably show my ignorance, or I just want to maybe clarify what I think is right, or my conclusion is better. When you say states that have no voter ID, run me through what you do in that state to vote. You just walk in and give them your name and vote? You don't have to show any kind of ID, any kind of driver's license, any kind of credit card?
That's it. Well, in fact,
you just walk in and say, I'm voting.
Correct. And then you can walk in 9 different times. You can walk in 9 different times in 9 different places and you can vote.
I did not.
Well, obviously they say, well, no, you can't because you have to identify yourself, and so they make a note. But
you could give a fake name and go to 10 different precincts.
By the way, I have no idea. So I don't want to state like I have any clue here. I don't really know. I only know that detail was shared, that those states that provide, why would you have no voter ID? Because even the majority of Democrats want to have voter ID.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just absolutely basic common sense. And we talked about, the elections and the ways to potentially fix that. And I do believe that the solution to these things are technology. And by the way, if we don't learn to trust one another and we don't learn to trust technology, right, that technology is taking over. And we'd better fall in love with that technology and figure out how to leverage that technology against the powers of the matrix, those people who want to have power and they want to have control and they want to do all these things. And in fact, that technology, if it's under their direction and control, gives them that power. That's what the military is. I mean, the military gives that power to those groups of people, and all of that stuff to me feels as if, as a humanity, we just need to get beyond this. Like, I just don't think we need to be in massive wars. I think if we changed our mind and said, let's feed everybody and let's get everyone to sing songs and let's get all children to learn to sing and dance and have fun. Let's have contests. Let's make life fun. And let's get away from life being, this drudgery that it's been since the birth of time. Let's instead enjoy life. Let's help people get healthy and really healthy. You know what I mean? Not a business plan to make money. Let's make them sick and then make them healthy by selling them the cure. But really promote health. Really promote those things, and then give opportunities to people who want to help the society. I'm thinking, I'm out to dinner the other day with my wife, and she's like, it's amazing that we come out to dinner here and look at this beautiful place. The lights are on, there's music playing, and we sit down and we get to eat like kings. They bring us our food out here. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful evening. We're enjoying ourselves. Bring out wine. We're eating. Just an amazing experience. And you're like, well, how does that happen? That happens because some entrepreneur, because some person says, I want to do this. And they literally get satisfaction in life to be able to do that and to provide a good product, right? And to deliver good service, right? And that's what we need. Not a McDonald's food chain that wants to put every other business out of business. You know, they want to you know, pattern, you know, create a pattern on their business. What's that? A franchise. They just want to create a franchise element. Everything is duplicated, and so we're all going to live in these little communities, and you can eat at Olive Garden or at Carrabba's or at, you know, Longhorn or whatever the other, you know, Chili's, all of these main chains that basically support the machine instead of supporting real literal local businesses,
right,
like Choppy right here in Whiskey Creek. Just to find satisfaction in good meals. And again, I don't know, but again, if we got together as a community and we said, look, let's agree to support this business. And in fact, I already have them. Hey, we're all going to support Tuesday. We're all going to go to this place on Tuesday afternoon for lunch because we're going to support this local business. And we put together a community that does that.
Is that the red hat ladies?
Whatever they are. Yeah. So, but the idea here is we're creating a new paradigm of what success looks like. And success looks like helping one another. Success looks like being able to give this guy, you know, the credentials for the satisfaction of providing what it is that he wants and not necessarily hanging his hat on the money. Obviously, we need to survive, and that gets into UBI, Universal Basic Income, which is a conversation we haven't quite addressed. But it's kind of like in the future, you know, you want to talk about how does the next generation that doesn't work survive? You know, well, to me, an economy starts with consumers, and the people who make the money are at the top, sucking everything up to the top. They're like a vacuum cleaner. Everything comes to the top, and it sucks out the bottom, right? And then now they're in power they use the government to keep their power. So they buy off the government, and then they allow the government to dump little things off to the peasants at the bottom, right? What if, as a government, you know, you started to say, okay, if we allowed, we enabled, I don't want to use the word enable because that sounds weak, but in other words, there's a dividend by being an American. And if you're born in America, you get a dividend as an American citizen of whatever it is, $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, whatever that is. And basically it goes out to every citizen. That's your basic universal dividend from being an American citizen. What are you going to do with that? And now we change the culture again. So instead of the system saying, oh, all the rich people take all the money and everyone, all of a sudden you're like, no, you get $2,000 a month, and that's your base. That's where everyone's starting from. What are you going to do with that? So now you can begin applying your own efforts and your own energies towards trying to be take initiative, and in fact being able to earn additional money. But the base money you don't have to survive on. So the guy who's doing the restaurant, he's got enough to survive, you know, and now he's building a business on top of that. So he's getting that new way to define success. You know, he's feeding his soul while simultaneously he's getting that basic thought. That's UBI, and by the way, I know this is going to go off crazy because no one who's a capitalist think you're going to let people stay home and stay in their basement.
No.
And I do think that there will be a segment of society that will do that, but I don't think you're going to manufacture that. I think most people end up there because of life, and they can't get out and they can't get beyond it, and they're now prisoners in this life. Instead of saying, here's your $2,000 a month, what are you going to do with it? So now let's help you. Let's move forward. And it may just be as simple as I'm hanging with you. You're making your $2,000 a month. We're both getting high and we're playing video games in the basement. But when we order pizza, we can order the pizza and I'll go get it and you'll pay me $10. So now all of a sudden I'm an entrepreneur. Anyway, that's just a new way. Here's it's not a government giveaway. It has to be rethought. And have you ever heard
Where's
of
the money coming from?
It comes from us.
Taxes.
Well, no, there should be no taxes at all.
So how does it come from us?
Money. Money is energy. It's just stored energy. So as you're working and I get money, I now have the ability. It's like I no longer have the ability to do the physical work, but I have the money to get that work done. So if you think about this gets into some spiritual stuff. It's called the Merkaba, or the idea of how self-sustaining the torus energies thrive within the magnetic and the electrical currents, right? If we took the money from the top, right, and it goes down, the money that's going through the system comes right back into the bottom of the system.
But where does the money going to the top come from?
It comes from all of us spending money and all of us doing business. It comes from the economy. But the thing is that instead of the money going to Google, Facebook, Amazon, and a few of these massive companies, right, or NASA, right, instead of that money just going out like that, we say let that money as a dividend from society. It just goes right back into the system. The government could technically just manage just as a credit card take some money. You could have a VAT tax, value-added tax, eliminate all taxes. So the only thing that gets taxed is when you do transactions, and if you're doing transactions on credit cards, you don't even see the value-added tax. It's like, you pay a sales tax and you don't even necessarily know that. But the idea is being able to rethink it and allow like AI and computers to actually go out and use computer algorithms to make sure that the monies that are being spent and the monies that are being reinvested, right, are in a positive movement system. But the economy is just us doing business. It's just everybody doing business and all of us working together. And to be honest with you, money doesn't even have to be like money. It can just be numbers in a computer. And that's where we're going anyway. Because if you go to what the China system is, and you're gonna get a credit score based on who you are and how well you're measuring up to their rules. Well, I think if we come to 5D and we say, no. We need to rethink this, and we need to get smart minds, and we need to rethink the entire game. Like we need to rethink the entire way the system works. And instead of these companies just getting billions and billions and billions of dollars and they're buying up power from all the governments, instead, that money that comes, we take a percentage of that money and we just say we're going to allocate it back to the people at the bottom. And it comes in where we get an automatic $2,000 a month. That creates economy. That gives every single person in the system money. Don't
we get that money when those companies pay their taxes?
No, we don't. Because we're $38,000 trillion in debt. So the thing is that the game is broken. The system is fundamentally broken. And what Trump and all these things are proposing, these are new thoughts, these are higher thoughts, and I'm saying that this is 5D, and we're going, the solutions that are forthcoming, they're not on the table yet. Because UBI is a negative term, and it says, yes, it's socialism, and it automatically gets shot down. And when anyone comes up with a new idea, if it's immediately shot down, it never gets any traction. But instead of shutting everything down, we start exploring that. Like, what might that look like? How could we potentially do that? How could we potentially repurpose the energies of money? So first of all, we all agree that we get our base survival at 2,000 points or $2,000 or whatever that number is. And every single person starts with that. And now we're just recycling that money through the system, right? And now we can buy new cars and we can do everything. And we're still maneuvering for capital gain, but we're doing it as a conscious, cooperative capitalist system. Consciously doing business, figuring things out, cooperating to make sure that everyone's taken care of. And then the capitalism is on top of that. So if you want to be rich, you can be rich. But in order to be rich, you're going to have to do what the other rich people do. Not have a family, work 85 hours a week. You know what I mean? Put the time and the energy in. You know what I mean? Maybe you're going to have to try to steal, or you're going to try to play that side of the game that you're going to be trying to leverage for power. And by the way, that's always going to be here, right? But those who try to leverage for power, they may gain, they're going to get ahead, but they're eventually going to be taken down for the most part, I think. But new thoughts, new ideas. This is kind of what I'm thinking, solutions that are not on the table already. And my God, there's millions of smart people on the planet. And if we just stop arguing and stop saying, well, it's because of this, or it's socialism, or it's capitalism, or whatever those things are, just how can we make sure that every single person is taken care of? Well, first of all, they have to have the money to be taken care of. So we set up this entire insurance industry to pay medical, right? So it's like we're going to do the universal, that Obamacare, right? So you're taking all of this money, right, and you're putting it through a system that's going to try to arbitrate the spend and arbitrate the insurance, and you're creating this huge bureaucracy to oversee all of this money and all of this crony capitalism and all this shit that goes on. Why wouldn't we just say, hey, let's improve our healthcare system, and oh, by the way, we're going to use computers to do diagnosis so no doctors work. Oh my God, well, all the doctors unions are going to be freaking out. Well, there'll still be opportunities for doctors who have to do customized surgeries and those types of things. But, basic nursing or basic diagnosis can take place on a computer, and I'm not paying massive amounts of money. And there's all of the insurance and all the stuff associated, all that stuff can go through AI, and that money can then be calculated, and we can track it, and we can say, which state is doing well? What is it that they're doing? Oh, and this data is coming in. Oh, this state is implementing these. They're using vitamin D. Or sunshine or whatever it is to treat COVID. Oh, look at the results here. So all of a sudden, like we're collaborating. We have conscious, cooperative, and capitalism. Where now we're starting to work together an idea, and we're bringing in new solutions. And by the way, I'm just one guy dumping my own, stoner mind in craziness. But the thing is,
do you guys understand what he's saying? I'm 100% lost. No, I'm kidding.
Well, but those are the types of rethinking that has to happen.
You think it's going to happen under the Trump administration, or under the DeSantis leadership, or under our county commissioners, the mayor of Fort Myers, your local committeeman precinct?
None of that.
Who is actually going to do this? You know why? Greed, power, and money. That's all the decision makers in the entire world care about.
That's the matrix, the 3D matrix, and it's falling apart.
No, it's not.
Okay, well, we'll see. But
it's worse. Follow the money, and you're going to find.
What I'm going to find, what we'll see happen.
Makers.
What I think is going to happen is clearly Trump is the deciding factor. Trump has been elected in a landslide. Vivek Ramaswamy, he's a businessman. Elon Musk, he's a businessman. These guys understand computers. They understand balance sheets. They understand how things go. They're looking to be able to leverage those things for the good. So I'm going to thank you for sharing that. I'm going to say, you bigoted old white dude, and how miserable and depressed you are. Because
I'm the happiest guy in the world.
Well, I know you are, lucky you. But I'm saying that message, what message does that carry to a 17 or a 22-year-old? And by the way,
it's not my job to give them the message that they want to hear. I'm giving them what I've experienced.
Very good.
I'm not guessing.
And what I'm telling you is that system is falling apart. It's no longer working. Every industry,
I'm not saying it's working. I totally disagree. I think it's more prevalent now than it's ever been in the political arena.
Trump was just elected in a landslide, and the entire system does not want him in power. So he's coming into power, and I think that he has a mandate from God. By the way, I'm not saying that.
I can't do this anymore.
No. I'm telling you that, like, there's literally a
kind of like the Blues Brothers, one mission from God.
There is a group of Christian believers who believe that Donald Trump is inspired by God. They're crazy, or they're brilliant. I don't know. You live in misery and you say, my life sucks and it's never going to get better and the system is so corrupt. Okay, that's your space. What I'm saying is that all of these spaces that we find ourselves in, whatever they are, that's the 3D matrix we're still fighting. The fighting's over. You're still holding on. I believe that God is you and I, and the entire system is a collective. We as a collective humanity actually control our reality. We manifest our reality based on our conscious, cooperative thinking together, and that's what manifested Donald Trump in 2016. The machine panicked because Trump won the second time. They stole it from him. That's his point of view. Was that the case? I don't know. They had January 6th, and they had put all these people in jail. Well, the people now, the entire system, they tried to take him out with lawfare. They tried to murder him, whatever it is, they tried to assassinate him. All of those things have been happening, right? But all of those changes are motivated. Where do those changes come from?
What changes? I don't know what changes you're talking about.
How did Trump win in a landslide? How was it that Trump won in a landslide when the entire system was against him? Perfect. I want to explain this. 3D is arguing the politics. Oh no, it's Trump. Well, you think Trump's going to get in? Well, Trump can't get in. We're going to do this, but they're going to do that, but there's war in this. You can't do this because you got all these cricket things. That's 3D matrix. And that 3D matrix is going to stay here. But 5D is the collective, and the collective has come to a decision that we don't want any more of that. And that's why Trump's in power, because Trump is going to drain the swamp, because Trump is going to make changes. He is going to remove the lawfare, the criminals in government. When he got into power, he knew nothing. He just showed up and all of a sudden he's there. And so he takes the advice of, well, you got to hire this guy. These guys all turn out to be part of the system trying to take him down. And they're all climbing on his back and they're sticking their fingers in his eyes. And despite that, I thought he had a pretty good first term. But this second term, what I'm talking about, and this isn't about Trump, because I don't want you to think this is about Trump. This is about a new energy, a new higher perspective that we're coming to as humanity. The world is no longer going to be killing each other because the next generation doesn't want it. And you know why the next generation wants socialism? Because they're all for love. The fact is that there are people who hate Trump. The fact is there are people who love Trump. The fact is there's right-wing politics, there's left-wing politics, there's religious fanatics, there's flat earthers, right? Whatever, there's Russian invasion, there's Ukrainian freaks, there's China on the warpath, there's Iran, there's Iraq, there's Zion, there's the Israeli, all of that shit, all of that, every one of those things is a fact.